My name is Aurelia, 32 years old. I grew up fluent in a language my family never had to study, the art of making myself smaller. In our house, praise traveled like a private jet. You could hear it roaring for Victoria long before it landed, then watch it disappear over the horizon when it came near me. She was the headline daughter. Perfect brow, perfect grades, perfect life that photographed well. I learned to be the quiet caption that nobody bothered to read. When I was 12 and she was 16, Mom held our report cards side by side at dinner like two auction lots. Victoria's straight A's bought her a promise of a new car at 16. My straight A's got a polite pat on the table. That's nice, dear. Dad added a distracted, good for you, between sips of coffee. The lesson wasn't subtle. Some excellence earns parades. Some is expected to happen silently behind closed doors. Years later, when Victoria got into Yale, the house turned into an event venue. Twinkle lights, rented glassware, a guest list that could have filled a ballroom. When I got into MIT, Dad turned the newspaper page and called it a good safety school. Maybe he meant it. Maybe he didn't. What I heard was, lower the volume on your joy. So I did. I lowered it until even I could barely hear it. After college, I moved to San Francisco, and everyone assumed some tech thing, a phrase delivered with a smile that managed to be both proud and dismissive. They pictured a cubicle, a headset, maybe a shared kitchenette. I didn't correct them. There are kinds of truth that feel futile to explain to people who have already decided what's true about you. Then Victoria married Bradley, a hedge fund pedigree with the correct watch and the right club memberships. The wedding cost so much that the number itself functioned like decor. I sat in the back row, a small shadow stitched into the hem of her perfect day, then left before the dancing started. Even my absence looked tidy on their timeline. 3 weeks ago, on our family Zoom, Victoria announced she was pregnant, and Mom's face became a cathedral of pride. The shower, of course, would be at the Riverside Country Club, the most exclusive address in town. Membership by lineage, money, or miracle. Members and their families only, Victoria said, looking directly into her camera like she'd found a lens that could examine me. It's very exclusive. Sounds lovely, I said from my apartment they assumed was all I could afford. Victoria's smile was gentle, the way a scalpel is gentle. You can come if you want, Aurelia, though I know the club isn't really your scene. Very upscale. Maybe Aurelia should just send a gift, Mom added, voice soft but aimed. The club has standards. I'll be there, I said. Wouldn't miss it. Saturday arrived, dressed in white columns and manicured green. Valets fanned out like migrating birds, gathering German sedans and handing back little squares of permission. I parked my rental, modest, anonymous, at the edge of the lot and walked in, wearing a simple sundress, drugstore mascara, and the posture of someone who'd been told her whole life where she didn't belong. The lobby marble held a chill even in summer. The air smelled like polished money. The Magnolia Ballroom had been transformed into a bottle of rosé, soft pink linens, blush peonies, gold edges on everything that could hold a gold edge. A string quartet painted the corners with polite melodies. Victoria sat on a throne-like chair beneath an arch of flowers, one hand resting on her belly as if crowning it. Mom hovered, curating pride. I slid into a back table with cousins who wore our childhood like a forgotten fragrance, familiar and immediately distant. They gave me the quick social scan, a flicker of confusion, then turned away with the impersonal kindness of people who can't locate you in the hierarchy. Gift opening began. Price tags were announced in a voice trained for charity auctions. $1,000 stroller, a silver rattle, a custom crib, laughter, squeals, clinking flutes. My gift, a handmade baby blanket from a small San Francisco shop, sat quietly on the table like it had wandered into the wrong story. An hour in, Mom spotted me. Surprise flared and then smoothed. "Aurelia," she called brightly, loud enough to travel. "You made it. Come say hello to your sister." 60 faces turned. The room watched me in a way that said they believed in ladders and knew exactly which rung I occupied. I hugged Victoria. She tolerated it for 2 seconds, then drew back with careful grace. "So glad you could make it," she said, the not quite a smile curving just a little too high. "I wasn't sure you could afford the time off work." "I made it work," I said. Aurelia's in the tech industry, Mom announced, rehearsed and vague. Very proud. A woman in Chanel tilted her head. Are you an engineer? Victoria laughed lightly before I could answer. Oh, nothing like that. She does something with computers. It's very sweet that she tries. Polite laughter. The quartet kept playing as if that could soften the edges. I let the laugh run its course and set my smile down beside it. Sit, sit, Mom murmured. We're about to have lunch. I turned to go, and Victoria's voice, buoyant now, caught me. Oh, Aurelia, quick question. She glanced around, making sure the room had us framed. Bradley and I are thinking of joining the Platinum Reserve downtown. Do you know it? I've heard of it, I said. The initiation is $400,000 and $75,000 annually, she said cheerfully. It's probably more than you make in several years. She gestured around us. Of course, even the Riverside fee is substantial. Don't you think it must be hard, seeing all this and knowing it's out of reach? The room leaned in. This was the game they'd come for. Mom's smile tightened. Victoria, she warned softly. Victoria kept her gaze on me, warm and lethal. Be honest, Aurelia. You couldn't even afford a basic membership here. You're right, I said, tone even. It's very impressive. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, she said, which is what people say when they are. It's just important to be realistic. Some people are meant for country clubs, and some people are meant for public parks. A few giggles floated up like bubbles. I looked at my sister, at her throne of flowers, at the audience she'd curated. My throat didn't close, my hands didn't shake. I felt something cooler settle over me, a calm with weight. You're absolutely right, I told Mom. Not everyone belongs here. I picked up my purse and walked toward the exit. Behind me, whispers rose and braided together. Place, failure, sad. Can you imagine? And then the door closed and the noise cut off like a switched channel. The lobby light felt cleaner. I stepped into it, crossed the asphalt sea, and sat in my car. At 10:47 a.m., my phone rang. Miss Chin, said a familiar voice when I answered. Richard Morrison, general manager at Riverside. Good morning, Richard. Just to confirm, you want to proceed with the cancellations. All of them? Confirming, I said. Victoria and Bradley Thompson, Patricia and Robert Chin, any family listed under those accounts, especially my mother's individual membership. He hesitated. Mrs. Thompson is currently hosting an event in the Magnolia Ballroom. This will cause quite a scene. I'm aware. Should I inform them immediately? Immediately. A beat, and then his voice shifted back into the language of hospitality. Very well. We ended the call. I set the phone face down on the passenger seat and watched lights skate over the windshield. 3 minutes later, it began. Call after call. Mom first, then Victoria, then Bradley, pinging the glass like hailstones. I let them pile up. Inside the ballroom, I imagined the quartet halting mid-area, the staff moving with professional apology, the sound of gold utensils settling against linen. A room that had always been theirs would look suddenly like a place where they were temporary. I didn't want them ruined. I wanted the balance corrected. I wanted them to feel, for once, the precision of a boundary. By the time I pulled out of the lot, my phone was vibrating nonstop in the cup holder. I drove past the hedges and the iron letters that spelled belonging, turned onto the main road, and kept going. The asphalt unspooled toward the airport. The sky held a clean, indifferent blue. I did not look back. The calls didn't stop on the flight home. They followed me to the gate, echoed through boarding, hummed beneath the roar of takeoff. I watched the screen light up with Mom, then Victoria, then a rotation of family numbers saved out of habit rather than affection. Somewhere over Nevada, I turned the phone off and slept in a way I hadn't in years, dreamless and heavy as a curtain. Monday morning, San Francisco was all glass and certainty. My office occupied the penthouse of a building I had bought for its bones, a 1920s frame retrofitted with fiber and quiet power. The elevator opened directly into the foyer, polished concrete, matte black steel, a suspended garden that softened the edges. My assistant, Noor, handed me a coffee and a folder of quarterlies before I reached my desk. 43 missed calls, she said. 67 texts, 2 voicemails labeled urgent, 1 from your mother, 1 from your sister. Any fires I can't see yet? Not yet, Noor said. Security flagged some social media chatter from the Riverside incident, a few posts trending in private circles. Nothing that crosses into your name. Good, I said. Keep it that way. I sat with the quarterlies. The numbers were clean, The kind of clean that meant dozens of people had worked very hard to make them look inevitable. Revenue up across the hospitality portfolio. The Tahoe deal within reach. A spreadsheet tab labeled Prism pinged as the CFO joined the document. He wanted approval on a $60 million acquisition. I read line by line, margin by margin, and signed. At 9 sharp, noon in their time zone, I powered my phone back on. It buzzed like a living thing, disgorging the backlog. I scrolled past the messages until I found the one that would be simplest to answer and called. Emma, Mom's voice cracked open on my old name. Oh my God, thank God. You have to fix this. There's been a terrible mistake at the club. What kind of mistake? I asked, watching the city through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The bay was the color of a promise when it means to be kept. They canceled our memberships. All of them. Victoria's, mine, your Aunt Patricia's. They said the owner requested it, which is ridiculous because we have been members for 12 years. Your father golfed there every Sunday. Richard Morrison called in the middle of Victoria's baby shower. In front of everyone, he made an announcement. We were escorted out. People were filming. It was humiliating. That sounds uncomfortable, I said, initialing a page, sliding it into a signed pile. Uncomfortable, she repeated, disbelieving. It was catastrophic. You work with computers. You could call someone. It has to be a hack. Please just fix it. I don't think this is a hack, I said, and I can't fix it. You can, she said. The voice shifted, less imperious, more pleading. Please, Victoria is 8 months pregnant. This is not good for her stress. Our friends are posting about it. The Riverside board won't tell us who the owner is. We have always supported that club. We have given generously. This must be a mistake. I know who the owner is, I said. Who? Mom demanded, hope flaring like a match. Me. Silence. Then a laugh that didn't know what else to be. Don't be ridiculous. I bought Riverside 6 years ago, I said. I was 28. Richard reports directly to me. When he called yesterday and asked why the owner wanted your memberships canceled, he was asking me. The silence stretched until I could hear her breathing, shallow, confused. You bought Riverside, she said finally, each word as if it might collapse under its own weight. How? Why? My tech thing, I said, the one nobody bothered to understand. I founded a software company at 23. We built property management systems for luxury hospitality. I sold at 26. 800 million. I started acquiring country clubs, resorts, boutique hotels, 17 properties now. Platinum Reserve, too, the one Victoria mentioned. I own that. I could picture her blinking, the way her mouth would open slightly when trying to make new information fit into old architecture. You have always kept things from us, she said weakly. You have never wanted to know, I answered. You preferred the version of me that was politically safe for the family narrative. Harmless. Small. This is not fair, she said, fear sharpening the edges. To punish us. To cancel memberships with no warning. That club is our community. It was mine first, I said. I paid for it. I rebuilt it. I hired the staff you gossip about by first name. You and Victoria have used the space to perform who you are. So have I. The difference is that when you decided to ridicule me in the place I own, I decided to practice something you taught me very well. Consequences. We were joking, she said quickly. People joke. Your sister gets carried away. You know she doesn't mean things the way they sound. She meant them exactly how they sounded, I said. She always has. You have too. Now you are cruel, she whispered. Success has made you cruel. This is not who you are. This is exactly who I am, I said. Someone who learned that love with terms and conditions is a contract I don't need to sign. The cancellations stand. The blacklists stand. Your names are flagged across the portfolio. You are not welcome at any of my properties. Not as guests. Not as members. Not as a +1. Not as a favor. You cannot do that. I literally can, I said, and I have. She exhaled, a paper thing crumpling. Aurelia, sweetheart, please. We were proud of you. We are proud. No, I said. You are surprised. Those are not the same. You had 32 years to be proud when there were no headlines and no marble floors involved. You passed every one of them by. You cannot be this unforgiving, she tried. Family is complicated. You are older now. Act like it. My laugh tasted like metal. I am acting like it. I set a boundary. Adults respect boundaries. We raised you, she said, and there it was, a last lever. We made sacrifices. And I am making one now, I said. I am sacrificing your approval for my own peace. On my desk, the conference line flashed green. 9:30 was arriving. Investors in Tahoe who wanted to talk about snow and profit. Noor's voice chimed gently through the intercom. Your meeting is here when you're ready. I have to go, I told my mother. I have work. Wait, she said, urgent enough to be a hand on my arm. Aurelia, please. Your sister is going to cry herself sick. She is expecting. Think of the baby. I am thinking of the baby, I said, and the truth of that surprised us both, which is why I am ending a pattern today, so it does not pass to her, wrapped in pink tissue and called tradition. Aurelia. The Riverside situation is permanent, I said. Do not call me to negotiate access. Do not send your friends to lobby. Do not show up at my office. You would turn your family away at the door. I would, I said. I have. The line went quiet. In the window, a fog bank dragged its hem across the span of the bridge, then thinned. Somewhere below, a siren slid past and dissolved into traffic. Is there anything else? I asked. She inhaled like a swimmer before a cold plunge. Yes. Are you happy? The question landed where I wasn't armored. I looked at the room I had chosen, the work I loved, the view that reminded me every day there was a world beyond the one my family constructed. Happiness was a living thing. It required air and honest handling. I wasn't sure I had the word for what I felt, but I knew I had built it myself. I am clear, I said. Clarity is a kind of happiness. I don't know you anymore, she whispered. You never tried to, I said, and then I ended the call gently, because endings matter. Noor ushered in the investors. They wore confidence well, the easy kind that grows on men who have never been asked to prove the ground they walk on is theirs. We talked cap rates and winter occupancy, lift ticket partnerships, and staffing incentives. I made notes and margins, asked questions that made their lawyer lean forward. When they left, they were smiling in the way people smile when they believe they have been understood by someone who can move a door they want opened. My phone buzzed again. I ignored it. The second time, I didn't. It was Richard. Morning, I said. Morning, Miss Chin, he replied. Wanted you to be aware. A Mrs. Patricia Chin and a Mr. Robert Chin called my office. They were emphatic. They asked to speak to the owner. I declined. I expect counsel will reach out. Also, rumor says a video is circulating. Not wide. Private accounts. But enough to be annoying. My name is not on it? No. Good. If an attorney calls, forward them to mine. If the video tries to jump the fence, I want our PR firm ready to cut it off at the tree line. Understood. I hung up and looked at the city again. Power has a flavor. If you are not careful, it coats your mouth. If you are very careful, you learn how to swallow without letting it change your tongue. Somewhere between those two, a line waits for you to trip. My office door opened without a knock for the first time in months. Security never lets that happen. Noor never lets that happen, which meant only one thing. Someone had gotten past a layer that was not supposed to yield. Aurelia, Noor said, breathless, eyes wide in a way I had never seen. Your sister is in the lobby. Victoria hadn't aged a day since the wedding. She still had the kind of beauty that looked rehearsed, sculpted around other people's expectations. But standing in the marble lobby of my building, mascara streaked, hair unraveling, that beauty had cracked. Bradley hovered behind her, face tight, jaw twitching. Security flanked them like silent parentheses. I stepped out of the elevator slowly. Let them through, I told security. The guard hesitated, glanced at Noor, then stepped aside. Victoria rushed forward. Aurelia, you can't do this to us. Her voice echoed across the lobby, drawing stares from people waiting for other elevators. I led her into the private conference room. Glass walls, skyline view, the smell of espresso and steel. She collapsed into a chair before I even sat down. You humiliated us, she said, trembling. Do you understand what that video has done? I folded my hands. What video? She laughed bitterly. Of us being escorted out. Someone posted it on Instagram. It's everywhere. TikTok, Twitter. Caption says, "Rich people get karma." It's viral in our circles. Bradley's clients are asking questions. His firm is furious. I looked at Bradley. He said nothing, just stared at me like a man calculating the cost of silence. I lost everything, Victoria said. Mom won't stop crying. Aunt Patricia is talking about suing you. I haven't been able to sleep. I haven't eaten since the shower. And now you're here, I said softly, asking what exactly? For you to fix it, she snapped. Make it disappear. Call whoever you have to call. Use your money, your influence, your whatever this is. You mean my work, I said. The thing you mocked for a decade. Her face flushed. You're twisting this. No, I said. I'm clarifying. She pressed a trembling hand to her belly. I'm 8 months pregnant, Aurelia. You're stressing me out. You're endangering your niece. Bradley finally spoke. She's been having contractions. I turned to him. Then you should take her home. He shook his head. You don't get it. This isn't just about a baby shower. You destroyed our reputation. You made a fool of me in front of my firm. They think I married into money and lost it overnight. You've made enemies, Aurelia. I smiled faintly. I've survived worse. Victoria's eyes widened. You think this is funny? I think it's interesting, I said, that for years you two watched me being mocked and excluded and said nothing. But the second your comfort is touched, suddenly it's the end of the world. That's not fair, she whispered. I didn't mean... You meant every word, I said quietly. You wanted me small because that's where you felt safest. Her lip quivered. So this is revenge. I hesitated. It's accountability. Bradley stood abruptly. Come on, Victoria. He put a hand on her shoulder, but she shrugged it off, tears streaking her face. I can't believe you'd do this, she whispered. You were my sister. Were? I asked. Or are? She looked at me like she was searching for someone who'd been gone a long time. Then she turned and walked out. Bradley followed. The door closed behind them with a quiet hiss, the kind of silence that feels like aftermath. Noor entered a moment later, eyes questioning. They're gone, I said. Security will escort them out of the building, she replied. Good. If they come back, call my attorney first. She nodded and left. I sank into the leather chair. The city beyond the window glittered like shattered glass. Beautiful, distant, and untouchable. For the first time, the victory felt hollow. 3 days later, my attorney called. Miss Chin, we've received a letter from Patricia Chin's legal team. She's threatening to sue for defamation and emotional distress. I laughed softly. On what grounds? She claims your actions at Riverside caused reputational harm, but there's no case. You exercise property rights. Still, it's a nuisance claim. I can make it disappear. Do it, I said, and send them the legal definition of entitled. He chuckled, already ahead of you. When the call ended, I sat back and exhaled. Power doesn't just shift, it echoes. You think you've closed a door, but the sound of it keeps moving through the house long after you've locked it. A week later, a courier arrived at my office. An envelope, handwritten, trembling ink. Victoria. Aurelia, I don't know what else to do. You won't answer calls, texts, anything. So I'm writing. You have to understand what you've done. That video, our humiliation, has over 1 million views. People I've known for years are mocking me. Bradley's firm is panicking. Mom barely leaves her room. Aunt Patricia says you've destroyed our family name. Yes, I was cruel at the shower. I said things I shouldn't have. But did I deserve this? Did you really have to humiliate me while I'm pregnant? I'm sorry for everything I said. I'm sorry for being a bad sister. Please fix this. Remove the ban. Help us salvage what's left. Please, Aurelia, I'm begging you. Victoria. The paper smelled faintly of her perfume, a ghost of rosewater and apology. I read it twice, then a third time, then folded it neatly and placed it in my drawer. Some wounds didn't want bandages, they wanted air. 2 weeks after the baby shower, I got another call. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Aurelia, my mother's voice said. Oh, thank God you answered. I closed my eyes. I told you not to call. Please, just listen, she said, crying already. Victoria went into early labor. The doctors think it was stress. She had the baby yesterday, a girl, 7 pounds, healthy. But Victoria, her voice broke. Victoria isn't okay. My chest tightened. What do you mean? She's not eating, not holding the baby, won't stop crying. The doctors say postpartum depression made worse by what's happened. Aurelia, please, whatever point you were making, you've made it. We understand. Just please help her. The city noise outside my window dulled to a heartbeat. What's the baby's name? I asked quietly. Mom's voice trembled. Emma! The word sat between us, fragile and devastating. My throat closed around it. Are you still there? She whispered. I'm here. Please, sweetheart. I don't care about the club anymore. I don't care about the money or the gossip. I just want my daughter to be okay. Please help us. I took a long breath. Fine. I'll handle the social media situation. My PR team will remove the videos and manage the narrative. Oh, thank you, she gasped. Thank you, my darling. But the blacklist stays, I cut in. The memberships stay canceled. You and Victoria made your choices. Actions have consequences. I understand, she said quickly. We do. And Aurelia, for what it's worth, I'm so proud of you. Don't, I said sharply. Don't you dare say you're proud of me now. You had decades to be proud. You had chances. You chose not to. She was crying harder. You're right. We failed you. I'm not doing this for you, I said, or for Victoria. Then, for who? For Emma, I said, the baby. She doesn't deserve to grow up surrounded by viral videos of her mother's humiliation. There was a pause. You're helping us out of kindness, then? No, I said quietly, out of conscience. She sniffled. Aurelia? I'll send a gift, I said. A trust fund. $5 million. It'll be hers when she's 25. That's too generous, she sobbed. You don't have to. I'm not doing it for you, I repeated. I'm doing it for her. She deserves a better family than the one we had. I hung up before she could say another word. That night, I sat by the window of my penthouse, watching fog roll over the bay. Somewhere in a hospital, 2 states away, a child with my eyes had just entered the world. Maybe she would never know me. Maybe that was okay, but at least she would never grow up believing her worth was measured in applause. A week later, I was back in motion. Meetings, acquisitions, investor calls. The rhythm of business has a way of drowning out everything human if you let it. I told myself it was better that way. Then, one evening, as I was reviewing proposals for a resort expansion, my assistant walked in with a small box. No return address. Just my name in slanted handwriting I knew too well. It was delivered by courier, Noor said, marked personal. I took it, waited for the door to close, and sat staring at it for a long time. Finally, I broke the seal. Inside was a framed photograph. A baby swaddled in a pale blue blanket, the same handmade one I'd given at the shower. She was sleeping, her face soft and peaceful, her tiny hand curled against the fabric like it was home. There was a folded note tucked behind the frame. She sleeps with this every night. It's her favorite. Maybe you were right. Price doesn't equal value. Maybe I was wrong about a lot of things. I'm sorry I didn't see you before. I see you now. Victoria. For a long time, I didn't move. The photo blurred until it was just light and color. Then I placed it on my desk beside the framed Forbes cover, the one with my face and the headline, Tech Prodigy Turned Property Mogul, How Aurelia Chin Built a Billion-Dollar Empire. My family had never seen that cover. They'd never bothered to look. But maybe now, someone finally had. The next morning, I met with my legal team to finalize the trust for baby Emma. I added a clause, funded financial education beginning at age 12, managed by an independent advisor. She would learn what I had learned the hard way, that wealth without understanding is a leash disguised as a gift. I transferred an additional sum quietly, instructing my attorney that if the family ever tried to touch it, it would dissolve into scholarship grants under Emma's name. It wasn't revenge, it was insurance for a different ending. Months passed. Seasons shifted from glass blue summer to fog-thick autumn. The scandal faded from whispers to rumors to silence. Riverside returned to business as usual. Golfers, luncheons, galas hosted by new members who never knew what had happened in the Magnolia Ballroom. But I knew, and sometimes when I walked those halls, I could still hear the echo of champagne glasses and laughter that once cut through me like wire. Now the laughter belonged to strangers. I didn't mind. I'd rebuilt the ballroom. Not physically. It hadn't needed that, but emotionally. I held events there myself. Charity galas for young women in tech, mentorship lunches, small conferences for first-generation entrepreneurs. I watched them take photos under the chandeliers where I had once stood invisible. Every time someone asked how I'd gotten started, I said the same thing, by realizing no one else was going to hand me permission. One night after an event, as I was locking up, I paused at the door and looked back at the empty room. The floor gleamed under the lights. The air was still. This was the place where I'd been humiliated, and the same place where I had finally stood up for myself, even if no one understood it then. It didn't feel like victory anymore. It felt like closure. Back in my office, the baby's photo waited beside the Forbes frame. I picked it up again. Her eyes, my eyes, stared back at me, filled with the kind of peace only new life can carry. For the first time in months, I smiled without bitterness. Maybe someday she'd hear the story. Maybe she wouldn't. Either way, she'd grow up with choices, and maybe that was what redemption looked like. Not forgiveness, not erasure, just freedom from the cycle. The next morning, I arrived early at Riverside. The dew was still clinging to the grass, sunlight brushing the white columns gold. Staff nodded as I passed. My footsteps echoed through the marble foyer. My marble, my echo, my peace. I stepped into the office overlooking the 18th hole and opened the window slightly. The scent of cut grass and wind drifted in. I didn't think about revenge anymore. I thought about inheritance, not of money, but of behavior. And I decided that Emma Patricia Chin Thompson's inheritance would be different. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story too.